Welcome back. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Is he live? Oh, okay. Um, Welcome back. So I've been doing a series on like my missing and exploited children, which to me is close to human trafficking because kids get human traffic as well. It's just so closely related. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, because I think this is gonna be my last one for the night. Human trafficking is widespread and it's a form of slavery that involves the exploitation of individuals through force, fraud, or coercion. In the United States, trafficking occurs in all 50 states in various settings, including rural, urban, and tribal. In 2023, the hotline identified 9,619 potential human trafficking cases involving 16,999 potential victims. Of the cases identified in 2023, the majority were sex trafficking, 5,572, followed by labor trafficking, 1,558, and combined sex and labor, 1,021 cases. Of the total victims reported in 2023, 6,676 were adults, 2,535 were minors. And I'm going to stay on these topics because being a victim as a child is not funny. You carry that the rest of your life until you're able to heal from it. It damages all your relationships. It damages your self worth. It either makes you withdrawn or hypersexual. The Federal Bureau of Investigations, and another thing, people don't tell. So and it pissed me off because you hear people say, well, why they wait 20 years, 18 years? Because you hold it in. Number one, you're embarrassed. I didn't tell nobody till I was 28. Okay? 20 years. Sex trafficking involves compiling individuals through force, fraud, or coercion to engage in commercial sex acts. For minors, force, fraud, or coercion is not required to meet the definition. Labor trafficking compels individuals to perform labor or services through force, threats, or fraud. Domestic servitude includes exploitation within a household where individuals appear as domestic workers but are controlled and exploited. Here's some recent cases. Wilmington, North Carolina. In late September 2025, a couple was convicted for trafficking a young woman and indicted for trafficking a second. Massachusetts, Methane, Massachusetts, in late September 2025, a case was expanded to include 5 spas. The manager of one spa was charged with trafficking persons for sexual servitude. Florida, September 2025, a man in Panama City was sentenced to 20 years in prison for child sex trafficking offenses. How to identify potential victims. Signs of physical or psychological control. The person appears fearful, anxious, or submissive, or seems to be controlled by someone else. Poor working or living conditions. They are not free to leave, work excessive hours, or live at their place of employment. Damn. Lack of personal freedom. The identification or ID or passport are held by another person or they have very few personal possessions. Unexplained injury or branding. They show signs of physical abuse, injury, or neglect and have tattoos indicating ownership by the trafficker. Inconsistencies in their story. They appear disoriented or have rehearsed or scripted way of answering questions. So here in my state, Michigan man sentenced to more than 11 years in human trafficking related case. And then you had cash out. Georgia don't play. He got life plus 10. A Ypsilanti man was sentenced to 135 months in prison after being found guilty by trial in 4 counts of forced labor. The sentence is the result of extensive investigation by U.S. immigration. Jean Claude Tavor, 44, a native of Togo, West Africa, in addition to his prison sentence, was ordered to pay his victims more than 130,000 in restitution for forced labor. According to an investigation, Toby used force and threats of force to obtain domestic labor of 4 minors from Togo from January 2006 to January 2011. Toby brought the 4 minors into the United States by giving them passports with false names and dates of birth. He represented he, he presented on the immigration documents that the 4 minors were his biological children. Toby pleaded guilty in 2012 to visa fraud, mail fraud, and harboring aliens in connection with bringing the 4 minors to Michigan. The 4 victims testified at trial that Toby regularly beat them with broomsticks, toilet plungers, sticks, ice scrapers, phone charges if they failed to obey. Each of the victims' testimony detailed the work they were forced to do on a daily basis for nearly 5 years, including cooking, cleaning. They should have poisoned his ass. Cooking, cleaning, hand washing laundry, ironing Toby's suit, shining his shoes, washing and vacuuming his car, babysitting the children of his friends, and cleaning his friends' home. In addition to force and threats, Toby used food and sleep deprivation as punishment. This sentence is a victory not only for the young victims in the case, but also for human dignity and the rule of law, said William Hayes, the lawyer. Many people are shocked to learn that slavery and human trafficking still exists in this country. But it does, but victims are often hiding in plain sight. Now, this July, sex traffickers sentenced to combined 81 years in prison. This happened in the Eastern District of Virginia. 6 defendants in their roles in sex trafficking, a minor victim and an adult victim in Northern Virginia and Maryland in 2018 and 2019. From April 2018 to January 2019, 5 of the defendants were sex trafficked a minor. The minor was housed at multiple hotels in Alexandria and Fairfax for commercial sex, and the defendants advertised the minor on advertisements online on bedpage.com, cityxguide.com, and Backpage shortly before it was seized by the federal government. They also advertised the victim on WhatsApp. Damn, I didn't know they was doing that on WhatsApp by sending her picture out to a list serve of known customers. As a form of grooming, the male defendants engaged in sexual intercourse with the minor. As a form of enticement, the defendants permitted the minor keep about 50% of her proceeds while the defendants collected the remaining 50%. So was they real pimps? Because I thought the pimp keep it all, but they let her keep 50%. Wow. Sex traffickers often prey upon the most vulnerable. The damage inflicted upon children through this form of sexual exploitation is immeasurable. The victim survivors are subject to multiple forms of mental, physical, and emotional trauma. That's a fact. The scars of which they never fully fade. The minor victim in this case was particularly vulnerable, and her trafficker used fear, coercion, and control to abuse, exploit her entire being for profit. We will remain dog in our pursuit of all those who perpetuate this modern day slavery. Mm. They don't say how old she was. Um, Members of the conspiracy were Fatima Perez recruited an adult victim to fly from Miami to Reagan Airport to work in a brothel apartment in Laurel, Maryland. Ventura Perez also sent out advertisements of the adult victim and minor victim on her commercial sex WhatsApp page, resulting in numerous men arriving at the apartment to have sex, with each victim being sexually exploited by over 50 men each. The minor victim and adult were sold for sex of that brothel apartment. Elvis Hernandez was sentenced to 13 years. Oh, they're going to have a hard time in prison. Jose Gonzalez, 14 years. Daniel Rodriguez, 16 years. Alexander Guzman, 16 years. Juan Martinez, 15 and a half years. And Fatima Perez was sentenced to 6.5 years. Mm. So that's just a few examples. One was labor and one was the sex trafficking part. Where's my book? Oh, let me type it in. I think I got it under human. I thought I had this under human. Let me look at all my folders. Oh shit, I thought I had them all under human. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Okay, here we go.
George Soros's right-hand man, Howard Rubin, has been arrested for running a sex trafficking operation out of a penthouse turned BDSM sex dungeon. Rubin is a retired Wall Street executive who managed funds for the Soros Fund and other wealthy clients.
Wow,
Rubin and
Illuminati.
his assistant, Jennifer Powers, also indicted, reportedly spent over $1 million to fund this operation. All right, how do you give me an article? Howard Rubin, ex-NYC financier with ties to George Soros, arrested for allegedly sex trafficking women to sex dungeon penthouse, feds say. So a retired Big Apple financier who worked for years at George Soros' investment firm allegedly tortured former Playboy models and other women in a Midtown penthouse
Torture
BDSM
them.
sex dungeon for about a decade, federal prosecutors say. Howard Rubin, age 70, was busted by the feds at his Fairfield, Connecticut home Friday morning on sex trafficking charges for allegedly luring dozens of women to New York City between 2009 and 2019, where he restrained, beat, and electrocuted them, the Brooklyn U.S. Attorney's
Damn.
Office said. The famed former money manager known as Howie, or H, and worth at least tens of millions of dollars, even appeared to to revel in the stomach-turning encounters and text messages with his personal assistant, Jennifer Powers, who is also facing sex trafficking charges tied to the scheme. Before we get any deeper, this guy was a monster. He so-and-so'd women and beat some so bad they needed dental and facial reconstructive surgery.
Damn.
And that's listed in a couple of these court documents. You know what I'm saying? So this is the guy in question right here, okay? And if you know about the left black eye, you know,
Howard Rubin, Illuminati.
Black Eye Club, they call it. As alleged, the defendants used Rubin's wealth to mislead and recruit women to engage in commercial sex acts where Rubin then tortured women beyond their consent, causing lasting physical and or psychological pain, in some cases physical injuries. Brooklyn U.S. Attorney Joseph Nocella said in a statement. Rubin, dad of three and successful ex-Wall Street financier with a 30-year career, allegedly abused the women in swanky city hotels and a luxury penthouse near Central Park that he leased for $18,000 a month between 2011 and 2017, court papers state. One of the West 57th Street penthouse bedrooms was soundproofed and painted red, nicknamed the Dungeon, and had a device that was used to shock or electrocute the women, the Fed said. The room also had a cross and bed with restraints where the women would be gagged, according to the authorities. 10 alleged victims were named as Jane Does in the 10-count indictment, but prosecutors said Rubin also recruited dozens more women for his alleged sexual deviant scheme. Many of the women targeted were former Playboy models, the Fed said in a letter urging Rubin to be detained. Rubin, a portfolio manager at the billionaire investor's namesake Soros Fund Management between 2008 and 2015, was ordered held without bond Friday evening at a hearing in federal court where he pleaded not guilty. George Soros' right-hand man, Howard Rubin.
Wow. So if that's his right hand, we know George Soros, Illuminati himself. I'm going to have to do, let me write this down. I'm going to do some investigation. Howard Rubin. Yeah, I'm going to go in on that. Not right now. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to keep this. Yeah, I got to keep this. Oh, shit. What happened? Wow. And my next one going to be on the hoop where I'm going to do Young Dolph. We're going to do that one. Oh, that was the good. That was good. I thought I had created a file. Excuse me, y'all. I think I got these videos. Just give me a moment. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I probably got it under these dates. can't believe I did this. Okay, this all friends. Oh, here we go. I found him, girl. I got this under.
We are concerned that the same way that he was engaging in sending photos of his penis to this 13 or 15-year-old girl and attempting to pay her for sex or attempting to gift her items and also ask for sex, we are concerned that he may have other clients that are underage that unfortunately may be subjected to the same kind of behavior by this defendant.
Okay. A hairstylist to the stars is in really hot water after Miami police say they caught him in a sting. They claim he not only been soliciting a teenage client for sex, but also bombarding her with explicit photos. We've got our hands on the probable cause affidavit that lays out the kind of messages he was allegedly sending this teen girl and what he brought with him to what he thought was a meetup with her, but was actually an undercover operation. And the sheriff behind a task force that targets predators joins us to give us some unique insight. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, we got to talk about 37-year-old Ryan Thomas Pearl. He has made quite a name for himself in the world of celebrity and fashion. He has styled the hair of some of today's biggest stars, Hailey Bieber, Sophie Turner, Halsey. NBC Miami reports that Pearl worked out of Olin's Salon in Miami as well as New York City. So he's a big deal. He's a big deal. And according to a post on his Facebook page on July 16th, Pearl had been selected as an artistic ambassador for Redken. This is a very well-known beauty brand. Well, I'll tell you, that ambassadorship likely in danger now as Pearl faces reportedly 6 charges in Miami-Dade County, Florida, all connected to alleged solicitation of an underage girl for sex. Those reported charges are use of a computer to seduce, solicit, or lure a child to engage in sexual conduct, traveling to meet a minor for the purpose of sexual contact, 2 counts of electronic transmission of material that's harmful to minors, possession of cocaine, and contributing to the delinquency of a child. Now, all except the last charge are felonies in Florida. This is very serious. Now, according to an arrest affidavit that was filed with the court, the alleged victim in this case is a 15-year-old female who is a client of Pearl's. Apparently, met him when he first styled her hair at age 13. And after getting a report about inappropriate behavior between the alleged victim and Pearl, authorities say they were able to use the teen's social media accounts to trick him into a meetup. A lot to get into here, and as we go through each section of this, including this sting operation, who better to talk about this than we're bringing back onto Sidebar Sheriff Chris Swanson of Genesee County, Michigan, leader of a task force.
Oh, this in Michigan.
After alleged predators. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time. It's good to see you.
Always, brother.
So I gotta ask you, I want to take your pulse on this. You have a hairstylist. It's an interesting position because it allows him, assuming these allegations are true, to get up close and personal with people of all different ages, makes them feel comfortable, and maybe they're not being supervised directly by a parent. Usually, look, it's a benign profession, but you take these allegations, it's true, it is one of those professions where it does put people in contact with children. What should we be thinking about that?
Well, what makes this completely different than most cases is the word celebrity. The fact that he had her in a confined space since she was 13, this is what predators do. They identify a victim, they identify their prey, and then they start building that trust. And in this case, it took 2 years. But what you see is a pattern that is repeated across the board when it comes to predator and prey. But that celebrity part, Jesse, is unique because many times that word force and coercion, that's how this person started out, is coercing this individual to think maybe he used the celebrity status of his position. I can help you. I can make you beautiful. I don't know what the chats or what his mindset was, but I guarantee he probably used his celebrity status to lure her in more than other predators would. And in this case, it's because of the people that are his clients.
Hey, so I know many of you out there might be true crime fans, but is anyone in a business of some kind too. So let me ask you something. How much time do you think your business team is spending just in spreadsheets, chasing down receipts, trying to make sense of
I'm
endless
live.
rows of bank statements? Yeah, probably too much.
Okay.
But that is where Odoo Accounting steps in. So Odoo gives users a clean, modern accounting dashboard that shows you exactly what you need. Your bank balances.
We're not going to go through all of that. That's wow. Now, this story here is out cold. Oh, shit. Why did... Okay, I gotta close this out. Oh, my God, I done closed out my damn... I done closed out every damn thing. I didn't know I had all this shit open. Well, at least I know where it's at. Okay, here you go. Now, this is a disclaimer. The views expressed in this interview and commentary are solely those that interviewed and provided.
Start off by saying this is a very disturbing Take it to wherever you want it.
Wait, let's get into it.
One time. But most of the time, because I was her little helper, I was trying to please her more than anything. And then my mother was extremely sadistic.
But did you ever plead and say, Mom, please don't take me today? Please don't take me today?
I said, I once said I'm not going.
And what she tell you?
She dragged me by my hair. She would get very anxious before we left. But of course I was gonna go. I mean, you understand, children, and you have children. So children are gonna do whatever. You know, I was doing everything to please her. I was trying. She was the person I was most attached to. So I was trying to tell myself that she loved me, because you have to know that you're loved as a child. And so I was trying to please her as much as possible. So most of the time I wasn't going to do anything against her. But there was another element, is that with my mother, because she never saw me, she just saw whatever she saw was an extension, something that just was nothing, had nothing to do with me. Because she didn't see me at all, I was receiving more reflection of things that were true about me by these pedophiles in the network, frankly, that were seeing intelligence, or they were seeing beauty.
So her mother was selling her to a pedophile ring, her own daughter.
It was better to be in the network than to be with my mother.
Damn.
Because that constant projection of hers was very difficult to live with.
So this entire
Did you hear what she said? It was better to be with the PDF files than her own mother. Damn, that mother. Wow.
When she's dropping you off and picking you up, you're not controlled. Like, it's, you see it in the movies where the owner has you in a room upstairs and people come in and out and they handle their business and you're away from mom and dad. That's not the case. This is mom is dropping you off and coming and picking you up at dawn.
Yes, so it was different in that way, that my mother was not in the network herself, although she wanted to. She looked up to these people. She would have done anything to belong. But because I think her particular way that her mental illness showed, she was almost too enthusiastic. She would not have been able to keep it secret. So he didn't get in, but it was as if she was envious that I was. It was as if she's sending me in her stead. That she would have wanted that kind of sexual attention. That's really what she wanted all the time. The sexual attention.
How was her relationship with her mom and dad?
She was born in 39, before the war. Her mother died when she was 5, just after the war. And so her father, whom I did know, he was inappropriate. He did one thing to me that was inappropriate. So
her father, your
her father. So she grew up in a town in Belgium during the war, in her early years during the war, and then lost her mother at a very early age. And I can only assume that there was sexual abuse happening, because that's how she always acted. I have gone through more than 30 years of healing from sexual abuse, all kinds of sexual abuse. And so that journey of healing, which is really, what makes me aware of these things, that's, she acted like someone who was sexually abused and never understood that she was more than that. You know, when you get as a child, there's something that happens when you're a child and you're innocent and you're the light of God and you are innocent, and your innocence is your true self. That's who you are. That's your light. And when you are sexually abused, it's like you feel that you've lost that innocence and that you can never get it
Facts.
back.
Facts.
There's the trauma
Facts.
of sexual abuse is such that you know when trauma means you're gonna hope, you wish that it was yesterday. If there's a big loss, you just want it to be the day before when this hadn't happened yet. You just want to go back. With sexual abuse, it's like they steal your light. They steal
Facts.
your life. They steal your innocence. And you feel that you've lost it because you're a child and you don't know that you don't deserve this because you assume that you did. And then there are children that can never get back to that light. And the network and the way that the network operates is all to keep you in the dark. And it's run by people that are not in touch with themselves on that pure level, on that level of, I am light, I am a child of God. And when that's lost, when the abuse gives this message that I have to put out sexually in order to be loved.
Yep.
Then you get this message.
Yep.
Then that's how you
That's
get
a fact.
validated. That's how you want your attention. And my mother acted like that, like someone who had no connection to herself, who was just constantly trying to get sexual validation from all men.
So you and your mother from 6 years old till what age was it? Till 11 years old.
Damn.
This is happening when you're saying 6 hours a week. That's the specific number you gave.
I gave that specific number, but it's an approximation. It wasn't every week, and sometimes it wasn't every week, but other times I was gone for the summer of 1972. I was gone 2 months.
Damn.
I wasn't home at all.
Where were you at? You were with the traffickers?
I was with the traffickers.
And
I was
mom wasn't there with you?
The first month, no. The first month I was in the United States, being trafficked in the United States by a powerful billionaire who was basically triaging me and training me in his homes.
Who is this?
I'm not saying who that is yet. I have to be careful what I say. I can't just flaunt these names out.
Would this be a person we would know?
Right,
Definitely,
therapy.
you would know the name.
Alive or dead?
Dead. He was, he was taking me here. I was in the United States. I was either in his homes, 3 of his homes I spent time in, or I was in the room in the daytime sometimes, in a bedroom, or I was even at a family's near DC for a week, basically parked in a family, nice family that treated me well, probably satanic family, and that were very happy to do a favor for this man. And then I was, after that, was taken to Germany, and I was there for another month in a facility in Heidelberg for what was my mind control training. And this is 1972, and I was 9 years old.
Mind control training at 9 years old?
Yeah.
Why did they take you there?
When I met this billionaire, so in 1972, you had the Bilderberg meeting that happened in Belgium.
This
So
straight
for that
Illuminati.
event, Paul
This
van der
sex
Breunans
ritual.
made sure that he probably did many things around there, but basically to
Yep.
please this powerful American that was there for the Bilderberg meeting, he staged a ritual.
Didn't I just say sex ritual?
And so why would they need to train
I've been
you, though?
studying this stuff for years.
The mind control training, he had plans for me, and all right, I can say something. He had me in his homes and everything to get me used to the life of the elite, so that I would know how to eat, so that I would recognize good clothes, so that I would be comfortable in these environments. And alongside that, we went to on one of the islands on the northeastern coast of the United States and saw there, and this was a Rothschild who was there.
Rothschild.
But she'll say the Rothschilds, right?
Yeah, so
But not the dead billionaire.
I was on the Rothschild for 1 day only, and it was clear that this billionaire, who you would think is just as powerful as this Rothschild, was not as powerful in the network as he was, and he was asking for permission to make the star that he wanted to make of me. Well, he didn't want to make me into a star. He wanted to make me into an elite sex slave where I would become famous in France, and then with that role, I would attract the most powerful men in the world, and I would be able to spy on them for him and so forth.
Is that David Rockefeller?
I'm not saying. I can't say this. All right.
I'm gonna leave that right there, cause I just, cause now I found where I put all my stuff at. Now we going back to the United States. Let me just close this, cause this is human trafficking.
Good afternoon. I'm Sheriff Joshua McLaughlin, and I would like to start out by thanking each of you for coming in today to learn more about our recent child exploitation operation. I have with me my staff here to the left. I also have with me Athens Police Chief Anthony Presnell and his staff, and
Let me move this on the
District
lawn.
Attorney Mason.
Come
We
on.
spoke back in February about this issue when we arrested several individuals for child sex crimes, and we've conducted a second operation to follow up from that one. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Captain Durden, or Caleb Durden.
This was in
He's gonna go over
Alabama.
The arrest and a little bit of operation.
Child sex
When he
ring.
finishes up, we'll be glad to take a few questions. So, go ahead.
Thank you all for being here. I just want to say thank you also to Sheriff and Chief Flanagan for supporting us and letting us do this important work. I also want to say thank you to our corrections officers. They did an awesome job. Our deputies that were helping with us, the APD officers, and all the investigators from both agencies. They did a great job working together and making this happen. So, thank you to y'all. We talked back in February after that operation. Seeing this firsthand, about the only way I can describe it. It's extremely shocking. It's just wicked and vile what these folks are doing. The press release we had put together says last week, Limestone County Sheriff's Office and Athens Police Department conducted a joint operation focused on identifying, investigating, and arresting predators seeking to commit illegal sex acts with children. We made 10 arrests in this operation. These offenders targeted and solicited those who they believed to be children, but were actual undercover law enforcement officers. These predators found our undercover officers in chat rooms, social media, and other online portals. Parents, we implore you to please get involved in your child's digital life, those devices that they have, such as their
Okay, let me move past this. Get to the. I want you to get to who you caught.
arrest of Mr. Douglas, Tavion Douglas, who he was with Trenton Bolden, and he did not receive the same charges because of his involvement. He was only charged with the public intoxication, intent to elude, and in the possession of marijuana, which is the crimes that he committed during our operation. So, just wanted to address that, why he was arrested, and his charges are not the same as everyone else. Sheriff, we'll take a few questions.
Oh, well, shit, we
on
missed the
operation.
charges.
Speak to
Hold on.
involvement. He was only charged with the public intoxication.
Let me go back a little bit.
To engage in these sexual acts with children, and then they traveled to designated locations in Limestone County to commit these acts. We just a couple We did collect 4 firearms during this operation, and then I wanted to address the arrest of Mr. Douglas, Tavion Douglas, who he was with Trenton Bolden.
Okay, we
He did
did
not receive
that.
the same charges because.
So I appreciate what they're doing. We have a set of standards and rules.
But this is the men, a picture of the men that they caught. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black men, a couple Hispanic, a couple of white. Look at that shit there. Look at that shit there. I'm about to call. I'll see what I gotta do.
New at 6:30 from our 8 News Now investigators. Disturbing details emerging from a police sexting that happened in North Las Vegas.
Police arrested
Now let's see.
18
Now we in
men,
Las
all
Vegas.
accused of meeting police decoys they thought were minors. 8 News Now investigator Kyle Payne obtained and reviewed all 18 police reports. Kyle.
Denise Bryan, when
So we just left Alabama. Now we
one
in
of those 18
Vegas.
men was arrested after 11 p.m. one night this summer, he asked police, quote, "You guys catching predators?" And reading the details of all 18 police reports, one might draw the same conclusion. All 18 men were nabbed by North Las Vegas police in a sting which included Metro, the FBI, and North Las Vegas and Henderson PDs. They range in age from 22 all the way to 60, but regardless of the age of these men, the decoys with whom they were speaking were generally posing as 13 to 15-year-old boys and girls. Like this man, who thought he was meeting a 15-year-old girl to whom he spoke graphically of sex, providing the decoy photos of himself, but when he got busted, he told cops in his own defense, quote, "I knew what this was." That he was there to, quote, "catch the sick SOB," and that he only said sexual things to the decoy because he was, quote, "playing along," and wanted to, quote, "catch her in another lie. He, like several of the 18 men, agreed to take a polygraph and write an apology letter. He is now out of jail on $20,000 bail. And there's this man who admitted to police the boy he was talking to said he was 13, but he too was talking with a decoy. When he got busted, he told police he brought condoms, but, quote, "for sexual encounters with older men." He says he has an addiction to masturbation and has a problem and needs help. Initially, he told the cops he wanted to get caught and never intended on having sex with a 13-year-old boy. But eventually, he said he wanted to do just that. This man, in his 60s, spoke with a decoy posing as the father of an 8-year-old girl. And the two discussed, quote, "sexual contact with that girl that included taking off her clothing, touching her body, and other things not suitable for television regardless of age." He told police he wanted to talk about his side of the story, that his conversation was, quote, "all fantasy," even though he told the decoy, quote, "fantasy is safer than reality, but if you really are real, let's meet." That man declined a polygraph. Some of these defendants will be indicted by a grand jury, according to court documents. Others had their cases moved from justice court to district court, Brian.
All right, Kyle, thank you for that. All 18 men were charged with luring a minor, a child, with a...
It's some sick people out here. It's some sick people out here. This is Canada. Oh, wait a minute. Let me turn this up.
My son's girlfriend and my granddaughter were on their way to Central Mall here in Windsor, Ontario. And when they get to the mall, she starts to approach the main entrance. It's her with the baby in the stroller. And she sees a man with a hoodie on walking in circles talking to himself in the front entrance. Doesn't think anything of it, walks past him. As she walks past him, he decides to snatch her up and put his arms around her throat and starts to choke her out. As he's choking her out, she lets go of the stroller. Now, the stroller starts making its way into the parking lot with his crying baby.
Wow.
Thank God. I say thank God. There was an angel in the parking lot. A man that saw what was going on. He come running and rescued her. Him and the attacker started to quarrel. The attacker got away, jumped in the passenger door of a white Dodge Ram, with a white cap. Probably 2015 was the description that I got. And then these guys took off. Someone did take a picture of the license plate. Police came. We ran the plates. The plates were reported stolen from Toronto. This was human trafficking, guys, 101. And my granddaughter and my son's girlfriend got lucky. Now to the man, to the angel, to the hero that saved my granddaughter. I believe your name is Mike Turner. You're a white guy. In his late 30s, early 40s was the description I got of you, man. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for saving that man. Thanks for doing the right thing, brother.
And it's so sad because men and women, boys and girls, got to be careful.
I'm outside a court in New York where Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of the global fashion empire Abercrombie & Fitch, has just been charged with running an international sex trafficking and prostitution business, along with his British partner, Matthew Smith, and their alleged fixer, James Jacobson. I've been investigating this story for 3 years now, speaking to young men who told me they pursued dreams of becoming fashion models, only to find themselves becoming victims of sexual exploitation. It was my investigation that led to the FBI looking into this, and was ultimately led to their arrests. Mike Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson deny any allegations of wrongdoing. If you want to hear about my investigation so far and what happens next, you can listen to my podcast, World of Secrets, The Abercrombie Guys.
Let me tell you about that. I did a video. You can go back and watch it on Abercrombie CEO. Guess what? The man got dementia now. He in a mental place and he has no memory or recollection of what the fuck he did to all these young men who pursued modeling careers with Abercrombie. So it's on pause. So now they only charging his boyfriend, that Jeffries guy, and it's another guy. But all of a sudden he got dementia and Alzheimer's. He not being charged. They waiting to see if his memory comes back. Ain't that a bitch? Ain't that a bitch? They waiting to see if his memory, if, while he's going through these tests, and they gave him all kind of cognitive tests, but he the only one not charged. He probably ain't gonna see a day in prison. They went through many young men. These weren't children, but these were, wow. This one, I think this gonna be the last one. Now this one gonna knock your socks off, cause it's not mine.
Miners have been rescued from the jungle compound of a Jewish extremist group in Mexico following a raid by police. The Lev Tahor group, known for their extremist practices and imposing a strict regime on their members, was investigated on suspicion of trafficking minors in the jungle north of Tapachula in the Chiapas state. Mexican police worked alongside a team from Israel, including former Mossad agents, in planning and carrying out the operation that took about 2 years to plan. The team traveled between Israel and Guatemala, where the branch had lived since 2014, carrying out several surveillance operations and working with local authorities there and even a Guatemalan private investigator. 9 members of the group have been arrested, and those children rescued are now being flown to Israel to live with their extended families. Miners have been rescued.
Now you know that Netanyahu's allegedly, no, it ain't allegedly, because his good friend was arrested in Florida for trying to pick up a minor. I don't have that story, but you could look it up. And this just happened a few months ago. And they let him go under diplomatic immunity, and he went back to Israel. That ain't a legend. That's a fact. That's court documents. It's everywhere. This is all over the world. Now I done lost one. Oh, here it go.
Officials say the 16-year-old victim was allegedly forced into sex work along the Bissonnette track and other areas known for prostitution starting in November of 2023. Documents say the victim was controlled by two men, Kenneth Rodriguez and Jalen Churchwell. In December 2023, police said Rodriguez threatened to kill the girl after she joked about leaving him, allegedly putting a gun to her head, firing shots at the ground, and choking her. In January of this year, she was rescued from a house along Long Creek Lane. Churchwell was arrested, but Rodriguez is still on the run. Churchwell's girlfriend, Deja Jackson, is charged with child trafficking and compelling prostitution for allegedly allowing some of the acts to happen inside her apartment. Officials say the girl faced repeated violence.
Also alleged to have burned her with using a lighter and a can of an aerosol spray can.
Well, it turns out the victim wasn't the only one in danger. Court documents claim a different witness to the crime was murdered over the summer. Those killers have not been caught. Investigators have yet to say how many child victims are involved in this trafficking ring. Officials say the 16-year-old victim was allegedly forced into sex work along the Bissonnette track and other
That's
areas known for
Texas.
prostitution starting.
Therapy. You know Bissonnette down there in Houston. That's Texas. This is all over the world. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna end. Let me let me do this one. This is another high profile one. I'm gonna end with this, and then I'm gonna. Yep, it's 12 o'clock. I'm gonna go to
I
this.
want to start off by saying this is a very disturbing, uncomfortable interview to watch. If you're watching this with your kids, they're 12, 10, 14 years old, this is not the one for them to watch. There was extreme tension.
This woman is explaining might actually
Every once in a while,
Really wanted to belong to the club. And I don't know how people got in there. There's
that we'll get into. But now let's jump into the PVD podcast.
you're 9 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And who's there? Some of the names that you're saying. Who's there at this
Well,
party?
I know you really want to hear names, and I really don't like to focus so much on the names, but Eddie Arnold was an American perpetrator that was there, and Eddie Arnold was, yeah. So Eddie Arnold was somebody who really wanted to belong to the club, and I don't know how people got in there. There's some of them are coming in through masonry. Some of them are coming in other ways because they get famous and then they get lured in. But he just really wanted to belong.
Now, when you say belong to the club, meaning just to be there.
Power.
But was he?
It's power.
But not abusing kids. You're not.
No, he abused me. I mean, yeah, he abused me.
So here we have her reluctantly giving us the first name, and it's of a famous musician. Now, as she states, she's going to say this over and over again, she doesn't want to focus so much on the names of the individuals, but more so of the corruption, the acts, and the cover-up of itself. Now, as we're going to continue seeing this is where BBD doesn't say the name. He just kind of leads her into it, talks to her saying, you know, you've mentioned other politicians, and that's when she drops the name Pierre Trudeau.
Meanwhile, horrible things were happening.
Songs.
Yeah. Meanwhile, lots of horrible things were happening.
See, if I look online, there's literally nothing online about accusations about Eddie Arnold.
Can you say? You're not going to probably. I know a lot of survivors of David Rockefeller, but I don't think you're going to find any accusation online about David Rockefeller. It's all about cover-up. It was very good. All the investment, all the money goes. I mean, not all the money, but it goes a lot to the image.
You gave a couple other names to me earlier. I don't want to say it until you're comfortable. One of the names was another famous politician from the West.
Yeah.
How did you meet him?
He was also there that week.
He was also there that week.
Yeah, Pierre Trudeau.
And what was the interaction with you?
Justin Trudeau, who was the Prime Minister of Canada. Now, it's also, and I got a video that I'm going to play next time, that his father, they family allegedly was heavily into human trafficking. She just said Justin Trudeau, who just resigned in February as Prime Minister of Canada. This all alleged. I don't know. But I do know they part of the Illuminati. I know that.
Scary.
Was his wife also involved or just him?
I didn't see his wife, or I don't know. I didn't see anybody else but him.
But you vividly remember him. And when did you know it was him later on? Because at the time you're 19 years old.
Yeah, again, this came much, much later. I don't remember exactly when I realized it was him.
Something to note is PBD brought up Justin Trudeau's mom. And although Annika here says she didn't really realize if she was involved or anything like that, the research that I was doing, the other individual who we'll be taking a look at later on, she actually has quite a bit on Justin Trudeau's mom. Whether it's true or not, we'll get into it. But if you had any doubt that she was talking about Justin Trudeau's dad, PBD clarifies it.
Didn't I just say his dad? I know what I be talking about, okay?
You remember when he came to you later that it was Pierre?
No.
Justin Trudeau's father, right? That's
Yes.
who you're talking about.
Yes.
I mean, you've never mentioned his name before, right? Trudeau. What was that relationship like? Or the experience like? Was it a one-day thing? Was it a repetitive that happened?
All right, I'll tell you something. David Rockefeller had me trained as a spy. So I was a sex slave, of course, and I was an elite sex slave now, and I was trained as a spy through the mind control training. And so that week, I was sleeping with men, and then I would go report on their weaknesses or their sexual preferences to David Rockefeller.
Now, the first book that I read, Kathy O'Brien, she claims in the 70s that she was a sex slave to the Bushes. Senior Daddy Bush, George Bush. And this was in the 70s, and her name is Kathy O'Brien. She is everywhere, and I got her book. Y'all can Google. So I'm saying she ain't the only one that's saying that they were raised up in the elite as far as being a sex slave. But the first one that actually came out and said it was Kathy O'Brien in the 70s. I got her book. I got to find it though, because we're going to read that on our one of our book reads when I find it.
Why did he need that information? Is that how to blackmail and use it later on in negotiation?
For example. Or if he knows what they want, then he can give it to them sexually.
Now, call me crazy, and, I might have to throw my tinfoil hat back on, but this sounds a lot like what Jeffrey Epstein was basically found to be doing or accused of doing.
Facts.
A lot of reports were coming out after his suicide, I should say, saying that he was working for the CIA, he was blackmailing a lot of these individuals, using these sex islands and whatnot. But as PBD continues to push a little bit more on the Trudeau situation, she says something quite shocking that makes him sound like a complete monster.
So, about Trudeau, I said that I could never please him as long as I was alive. That's how scary that was.
Wow.
You could never please him?
If I was alive.
With Trudeau?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
It means that he couldn't kill me because at that point I was not a throwaway child, and he scared me enough so that I then tell Rockefeller that that's what he wants, a child to kill.
Now, that's an absolutely wild thing to be claiming. And, you might think that she is a kook, a loon, But she's not the only individual who's said something like this.
Fact,
As I
she's
mentioned,
not.
while doing my own research, I came across a woman who's been talking about this for an even longer time, since the early 90s, if not beforehand. I think maybe the mid to late 80s as well. She was an individual who was used in these mind control programs. She's mentioned Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau plenty of times. She surprisingly also mentions Brian Mulroney and how he was kind of taken over following orders by George Bush for the New World Order.
Kathy O'Brien.
This video that I'm about to play, it was very hard to find. Either it's been scrubbed or a lot of it's been edited. But here she is talking a little bit about that, and then she'll mention Pierre Trudeau, as you'll hear here.
The people that were involved.
That's Kathy O'Brien. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. This is Kathy O'Brien.
We're following directions from George Bush. I don't purport to know it all. I don't purport to know that George Bush is at the very top of all this, but he is as high up as I knew. It was my experience that Ronald Reagan answered to George Bush, not robotically, not under mind control, but willingly, because George Bush was respected for what he knew about bringing in the New World Order. Consider his past.
Come on.
Bush first began with the United Nations. Then he went on to head our CIA. Then he ran our country through 3 administrations that I'm aware of. The Reagan administration, his administration, and the Clinton administration. Because Reagan and Clinton both answered to him. Mexican President de la Madrid answered to him and knew that Salinas was to be coming into power, and Salinas had more influence in Mexico at that time than de la Madrid, that, as far as my experience was concerned. Also, Saudi Arabian King Fahd followed orders from George Bush, as did the Prime Minister of Canada, Brian Mulroney. In 1983, I heard Ronald Reagan and Brian Mulroney discussing the New World Order. Senator Byrd acted in the...
I just got to say this. I'm going to let this finish and then I'm going to end it. There was a scandal under, and I'm going to talk about, it's called the Franklin Conspiracy. There was a scandal under Senior Daddy under Ronald Reagan. And it's called Boys for Sale. And the Franklin Conspiracy. But they flew boys from the orphanage in Omaha, Nebraska. I remember this vividly. It was in the newspapers. And I got the books too. Now I found that book. I'm going to pull it out. But one book is called Boys for Sale. The other one is Franklin Conspiracy. Google it. And they were flying these to the White House from the orphanage. A lot of these young boys ended up suicide, drug addicts. One is called, the only one that got convicted in this whole thing, the Franklin Conspiracy, was the black guy. His name was Larry King. He the only one went to prison because he supplied the boys from the orphanage. He the only one. Everybody else got out. I'm just saying. All right, I'm gonna let her finish. Let me get back to where we was. Oh, I see what happened. Let me close that out. Okay.
Officials say the 16-year-old victim was allegedly forced into sex work.
Now, why is it doing
Officials
that?
say the 16-year-old victim was allegedly forced into sex work along the Bissonnette track and... Officials say the 16-year-old victim was allegedly
Okay, let me
forced
just
into
close
sex work.
this out. That's how we're going to do that. Okay, now let me bring it back up. Okay, I got it. Oh, now you can't see it. Okay, so y'all trying to blind this, but I got another phone. Okay. No, we gonna finish that and then I'm gonna. So let me. Here you go. I got another phone. Apple.
This is a very disturbing, uncomfortable
Okay,
interview
let me
to
get
watch
back
if
to
you're
Kathy
watching.
O'Brien.
Telling Brian Mulrooney that he believed the only way to world peace was through mind control of the masses. Once my father agreed to sell me into the project, I was taken routinely to Mackinac Island, Michigan, which is a political retreat where the Michigan governor's mansion is located. It was a bohemian grove of sorts where politicians met and discussed New World Order controls, where they discussed mind control.
Now that messed me up because I'm in Detroit. I never listen. Mackinac Island, you can't drive a car. You take a ferry. There's no cars on there. I never went. I never wanted to, but my son went on a trip. They say it's absolutely beautiful up there.
Mind control of the masses, mind control in the school systems, how to use occultism as a trauma base. One of my sexual abusers at that time was the Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Trudeau. Pierre Trudeau is a professed Jesuit. Now, the Jesuits are an intelligence arm of the Catholic Vatican.
Facts.
There's a criminal faction within these Jesuits. I'm certainly not saying all Catholics.
She ain't lying. I gotta stop again because the Jesuit Adam Westhelp, he's the one that started the Illuminati in 1776 and brought it to America. The Jesuits is like an army to the Vatican. That's why I was so shocked that the Pope that just passed away was the first and only Jesuit to be named the Pope. Messed me up because they normally stay in the background and do all the dirty work.
Nor am I saying all CIA is bad or all politicians. There's good and bad in everything. But nevertheless, Pierre Trudeau represented this criminal faction of the Catholic Church, of the Jesuits, who believed in mind control of the masses.
After seeing all that, I probably lost quite a few of you, but to the people who have stuck around, this woman, Kathy, her story hasn't really changed in the past 50 some odd years.
So haven't.
That video, that footage, I believe from my research is from 1977.
Yep.
It could be sometime in the 80s. But just 2 years ago, she released this podcast. It's called Trudeau and MK Ultra. It's only 6 minutes, and you can listen to it on Amazon, or you can go to her actual page. And in this little short snippet of this 6 minutes, I probably won't play all of it. I'll play some of it. She talks about Pierre Trudeau quite a bit. Talks about Margaret Trudeau. Again, talks a bit about the mind control situation. So let's take a little listen, and I'll stop it at some point.
Trudeau and MK Ultra, by me, Kathy O'Brien. Justin Trudeau or Justin Castro? Either way, the father who raised him, former Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, was a master of MK Ultra mind control of individuals and nations, with a goal of implementing what Adolf Hitler, George Bush, and Joe Biden term the New World Order. The question regarding who the biological father is of the current Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, raises questions about his mother. Was Justin's mother, Margaret Trudeau, a presidential model, MK Ultra mind control slave, as I was told by my politically affluent...
Wow.
What does this say about Justin
Wow.
Trudeau? Was he groomed by Pierre Trudeau to lead Canada into the New World Order by genetic design?
Facts.
Through MK Ultra...
But he couldn't hold on. They had to throw his weak ass up out of there. But yes, he was a puppet. Absolutely. He destroyed Canada. Like Newsom destroyed California. Both puppets. Absolutely.
Control. I know from experience that Pierre Trudeau is skilled in trauma-based mind control. Heaven suddenly assigned me at age 9 at the Mackinac Island, Michigan Governor's Mansion. My 1995 testimony for Congress, Transformation of America, was censored under national security due to my naming family bloodlines hell-bent on implementing a global...
That's the name of her book, Transformational America, where she talks about, because she was the first. Kathy O'Brien was the first.
slave society, including then Governor of Michigan, George Romney, Rhino Mitt's father, Pierre Trudeau, Justin's so-called father, George Bush, and more. My father sold me into CIA MK Ultra Mind Control's Project Monarch, which is rooted in multi-generational...
That's
After
a fact.
being
I'm going to
trafficked
talk about
Pierre
Monarch.
Trudeau, I lost any remaining free thought to traumatic control due to his expertise in Jesuit manipulation of the subconscious mind. While I was being trafficked yet again to Gerald Ford to fulfill his perversions, he was blasting Rod Stewart on his stereo as he often did. He told me Maggie May had been titled for Maggie Trudeau. Margaret Trudeau had been in the news due to having been institutionalized for a mental breakdown. Her reputation for sexual promiscuity with world-famous celebrities and politicians was being diverted by media spin focused on her drug use and for being bipolar. Bipolar and schizophrenia are often terms misapplied to dissociative disorders resulting from horrific abuse, such as those experienced in MK Ultra mind control.
Facts.
As people around the world recognize Justin Castro Trudeau's imposed dictatorship on Canada, and as increasing numbers of survivors of MK Ultra speak out on the pervasiveness of mind control, the internet is scrubbing information on mind control and rewriting history on those like Margaret Trudeau. Research deep.
And I would guess this is why she ended up on PBD's podcast to talk about this, because if what she's saying is true, more people that were part of this program who survived are coming out to speak about it. There might be more individuals coming out to talk about the corruption that Trudeau or Pierre Trudeau was involved in, all these other high-end celebrities, politicians. We have the Diddy situation recently. So this is just something I figured, why not get it out there? Like I said, it's probably going to get buried due to the algorithm. But if not, hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And as always, I will catch you guys.
Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I ain't got no words. You believe whatever you want to believe. But it's trust and believe these some sick people in this world. And they got all the money and all the power. What the hell? What else do you want, assholes? What else do you want? Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Oh. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. All right, I'm out. I got to get up in the morning.